Hello, Squid and Octo kids! Welcome to It's a Splat Theory. I'm your host, Kat, and today I want to cover something that I've seen some discourse about in the Splatoon community. And that is the Great Turf War. And you may be wondering what discourse I am talking about. The Great Turf War is straightforward, right? Well, actually, there is one thing that stumbles in the story of the Great Turf War, and that is if it's a minor war only between the Inklings and Octarians around the Calamari and Inkopolis area, or a big one concerning all Inklings and Octarians and sea creatures. So let's get to the bottom of this and super jump right into it. Okay, so what we're going to do first is go through everything we know about the Great Turf War and just the story of it. Before the Great Turf War started, the relationship between Inklings and Octarians was good, even great. But then the sea levels continued to rise, and they were forced to fight for the land that was left. The Octarians were victorious in the first battle, due to them being more dedicated and the Inklings just being lazy and not getting up on time. The whole war lasted over a year, and we know of 3 other battles. One with the octo weapons that the Octarians almost won, but a plug was pulled from its socket and cost them that battle. We know there was a siege on Arawana Castle, and then there was the final battle, which we also don't know much about, besides the fact that historians agree that the Inklings' victory was due to their superior number of limbs. We don't know anything else about it except from that. And that's pretty much it. The only thing I really left out was that it wasn't just Inklings and Octarians, but other sea creatures too. But they're the main sea creatures, it seems, in the Splatoon universe. And it doesn't really help us much for this question anyways. Okay, now that we have that laid out, we need to go through what might actually help us figure out how big this war was. Now, at first glance, I'm sure you'd probably say it wasn't that big. It was just a fight over some land, after all. But there are actually things that point to it being much bigger than that. Like the fact that when the Octarians lost, they didn't just go somewhere else to live. They went into hiding for almost 100 years. People don't do that for a small and insignificant war. And I think an even bigger thing that points to this war being bigger is that Inklings don't really know Octarians exist. Well, they learned about the Great Turf War and stuff in school, but all of the Octolings that went to Inkopolis, Inklings just think they have a weird hairstyle. And we see in the Squid vs. Octopi Splat Fest from Splatoon 2, a piece of dialogue said by Marina, where she says that octopi could be hiding right under their noses, and they'd never even know it. If they weren't extinct, of course. And there are valid points that it wasn't a world war, like the fact that the only reason for the war was over land, and the fact that there are octolings in the Splatlands, and there are so many octolings in Inkopolis and everywhere else, they couldn't have all been a part of the Octarian army and have heard the Calamari incantation. That'd just be improbable. Well, I can make a way that makes sense as well, and everything fits. First, the war being over land. Yes, land doesn't seem like it should be the cause of a war so big. Except in the world of Splatoon, there is less ground. We know of multiple large floods, some larger than others, and that this war was caused by the sea levels rising. So there's a good possibility there was fighting everywhere over the little land left. Then we can answer the other points pretty much all together. Because yes, not all of the Octolings we see in play as could have been part of the Octarian army, but they didn't have to be. The other Octolings that weren't could have just escaped on their own. And something that would make even more sense is if sometime early into the 100 years between the Great Turf War and the modern Inkling Day, a group of octolings left underground to try and live free on the surface among the Inklings, and their descendants are the octolings we see today. And as time went on, more and more octolings may have left, and they started by going far away, hence why we see them in the Splatlands. And another thing that points to this being bigger is we see two underground places that the Octarian lived in Inkopolis, and as well one in the Splatlands. That's all for today. Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please super jump over that like button, splat the subscribe, and ring the notification bell. And as always, stay fresh, stay off the hook, stay cool, and catch you later, Squid and Octo kids.